The unnamed woman who accused Brett Kavanaugh of sexual misconduct has now come forward, alleging the Supreme Court nominee assaulted her when they were in high school. In an article in the Washington Post Sunday, Blasey Ford said Kavanaugh, quote, pinned her to a bed on her back and groped her over her clothes at a party when they were teenagers. Blasey Ford added, now I feel like my civic responsibility is outweighing my anguish and terror about retaliation. Kavanaugh refuted the accusation before Blasey Ford was identified. In a statement last week, Kavanaugh said, I categorically and unequivocally deny this allegation. I did not do this back in high school or at any time. Ford chose to speak out after details in a letter that she wrote about Kavanaugh became public. She also says Kavanaugh's friend, Mark Judge, was in the room at the time of the alleged assault. The Senate Judiciary Committee is expected to vote on Kavanaugh's nomination to the Supreme Court this week. CBS News legal analyst Rikki Klieman joins me now by phone. Rikki, Senator Dianne Feinstein said that she turned this information over to the FBI. What do you think they might be investigating?
Well, the difficulty of the entire situation, as with many of these situations, is that it allegedly happened so long ago. So you have, in terms of the law, there is certainly nothing that is going to be done to ultimately punish Brett Kavanaugh if the allegation were shown to be true in terms of the criminal law, simply because of statutes of limitation. But what we really are looking at here is the political process and also the era in which we are in culturally and sociologically, which is the Me Too era. This article is explosive, to say the least, because there were many people and many people in the press who really looked at the conduct of Dianne Feinstein as being a quote-unquote dirty trick, coming forward at the last minute. Why had she held on to this? But the whole complexion of the story changes when you find out that you now have a 55-year-old California professor who has also had academic articles published. She's associated with the university, and she has passed a polygraph. So what you have, which may have looked like a dirty trick, for use of no other term, last week, now seems to look like something very, very different.
You mentioned that this allegation is just decades old. How do you think this is ultimately going to factor in as they move forward? Will this scuttle his nomination, you think?
Well, the most recent item that I've read in the Washington Post, which is just moments before our call, is that the Republicans are intent on going forward with the nomination as planned. The difficulty they have, however, is that this allegation now is just not the same as the allegation that it was last week. So she says that she came forward, especially because of going through therapy with her husband and wanting to remain anonymous, but that what the reason that she had to come forward at this time was that she wanted our Supreme Court justices held to a higher standard. In our society today, men must all be held to a higher standard than perhaps we thought they should have been. And whether or not this happened in high school or whether it happened 10 months ago or 10 years ago, the reality is that it's an allegation that has to be dealt with. What will happen this week in those hearings remains to be seen, Rena. Mm-hmm. But I know that I, like you and the viewers, are really going to be tuning in, because you can't just wipe this away when she's passed the polygraph.
She did pass the polygraph. That is, in fact, true. We've heard that statement coming out as well. You know, Democratic Senator Sheldon Whitehouse released a statement on Sunday, and he said that the FBI needs time to take proper witness statements. Lying to an FBI agent in a formal interview is a crime and an impeachable offense. What kind of legal implications could this mean for Kavanaugh?
Well, the difficulty, of course, is that he has denied this allegation completely. He says it never happened. He is a sitting judge in the federal system, which means he has lifetime tenure in his current position. And the only way to get rid of a sitting judge in the federal system with lifetime tenure is the same process. We're dealing with the process of impeachment. I don't know that we're looking to go backwards. I think the question is what happens going forward. Does this affect him in his current position, or does it simply affect his nomination hearing, or do the Republicans push it through and get it to the floor? This is complex, and in terms of the FBI doing an investigation or any other law enforcement body doing an investigation, she's now 51. This happened allegedly when they were in high school. The trying to locate witnesses besides the other gentleman she mentioned, Mr. Judge, is very, very difficult, I would think. We do know that she did, when she saw the therapist, there are therapeutic notes. We do know that she has talked to her husband about it. But whether or not this was ever mentioned to other witnesses back at the time, whether it's relative to a friend, that would be investigated. But all of this is in the maelstrom of this Supreme Court nomination. So do people take a breath and say, well, we can wait a little bit and find out? Or do people say, we're going forward and we're pushing this through? I want to go back to the polygraph, if I can, for a second, Rena. This was apparently, according to the Washington Post, a polygraph administered by a former FBI polygrapher. And the polygraph went to look to see if what she had given in a statement before was in fact the truth. So this is a little tricky polygraph too. So where does that leave Mr. Kavanaugh and Mr. Judge? Do they say it is simply false? Do they push forward? Or do they decide through their own representation that they should also take a polygraph? And remember, they're confidential polygraphs. They're confidential. And if they pass it, then you can have dueling polygraphs.
Rikki Klieman. Rikki, we're so grateful that you could share your legal analysis. I look forward to chatting with you about this story throughout the rest of the week. Rikki, thank you for joining us.